Well, was Tom Holland Spider-Man supposed to be in Madam Web? Well, we had heard rumors of that for a really long time, and now some new concept art not only confirms it, but shows us a face-off between Tom Holland Spider-Man and Ezekiel Sims. So let's dive into the concept art, talk a little bit about what's going on, and why I think this ultimately didn't happen. Now before we do that though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos, and we want to be your place for all the superhero news, but we're going to bring it to you truthfully and transparently, so you are in the know. Well, I think Sony's world of Spider-Man characters is more than a little bit confusing, and I think nobody is more responsible for this than Sony themselves. Now, from early on while they're creating their Spider-Man world, Sony has really done a piss-poor job of making sure it was clear where this was happening. There were those set photos from Morbius that seemed to indicate it was in Sam Raimi's world, with a picture of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man with the word murderer, and quite a few nods to the classic Daily Bugle. Now, this never made it into the final cut, and many people think like this was because Marvel Studios and Sony came up with a new deal for Tom Holland Spider-Man. For Madam Web, the whole story is a lot less clear. This movie adds to the confusion because it took place in the 2000s and even included Mary Parker giving birth to Peter. But there were once a ton of rumors about Cassie Webb reaching out into the multiverse and maybe even sending this baby Peter to another reality, presumably Earth 616, making him literally the same Spider-Man from the MCU. Now, for me, this sounds, well, kinda dumb, and if it ever was planned, it's really great for the fans that this didn't happen, and probably ultimately for Sony seeing how well this movie did. To add to the fire, we've got some new concept art from Madam Web, and this is via artist Sebastian Meyer. This does seem to confirm that there were indeed plans to have Tom Holland's version of the character not only part of Madam Web, but facing off with Ezekiel Sims high above New York City. So let's go ahead and check out that concept art. Yeah, definitely in this first picture, that is the Tom Holland version of the character, and they are sailing way above New York. I don't know what put him there in the original story. This could be some aspect of changing from world to world, or maybe even some power from one of the characters, but they're definitely floating way above New York City, and it looks like it could have been somewhat of a cool fight scene, even if a little contrived. Now, the second piece of concept art shows them facing off on top of a skyscraper, and it really doesn't give any details, but it definitely does confirm that Spider-Man was on the menu. Now, to be fair, it's totally possible this concept art was made to just get a feel for how Ezekiel's fighting style would manifest, because quite honestly, it feels sort of weird we need to see him fighting Spider-Man when Madam Web actually included 3 versions of Spider-Woman. Now, obviously those characters didn't get a chance to fully manifest their powers, and most of the cool stuff came in the form of flash forwards, but there was a ton of possibilities for this character facing off in combat with other people, and Sony definitely never embraced it. Now, overall, for me, I'm really glad Tom Holland did not make it into this film. Outside of it really not being so great and a total flop at the box office, it definitely would have diluted the fan excitement for future installments of his franchise. I'm pretty sure Madam Web is going to be a standalone, one-and-done film, and we're very unlikely to see anything else manifest from the movie because it did so poorly at the box office and definitely was critically received in almost the worst way. This would have added just more of those sort of contrived, forced plot points, like Adrian Toomes showing up at the end of Morbius, and just left more questions that'll never get answered by Sony Studios, and ultimately just damage the superhero genre. The future of Spider-Man still looks really bright. Tom Holland is definitely returning to the MCU, with rumors of Miles Morales joining him. I think Sony is probably going to refocus on their relationship with Marvel after this failure, and quite honestly guys, should Kraven and Venom 3 do almost as bad as this film, I would not be surprised if they got out of the superhero business altogether. But we're going to have to wait and see.